what is all this? What are we, really? It's probably the biggest question we can ever ask. And for centuries, we've been trying to answer it down two very different paths, using two completely different languages to try and map our own existence. So today, we're diving into that one single epic quest to understand reality itself.
Okay, just look at these two things side by side. On the left, you've got this beast of an equation. It's called the stress-energy tensor. It's basically the part of Einstein's equations that tells space-time how to bend and curve when there's matter and energy around. It's the math behind gravity. And then on the right, you have this incredibly simple four-word phrase from a spiritual text. I am my I am. It's a mantra, something meant to connect your own consciousness with the source of everything. So you've got a map of the physical universe and a map of inner consciousness. How on earth can they both be trying to describe the ultimate nature of the very same thing?
And that, right there, is the big question we're going to explore. Now, we're not here to prove one map is right and the other is wrong. No way. Instead, we're just going to try to understand the maps themselves and maybe get a glimpse of the territory they're both trying to chart.
So let's start by thinking about this whole endeavor as a giant project of map-making. I mean, for as long as we've been human, we've been driven to chart the world around us. We build these incredible tools to map the vast, silent universe out there, and at the same time, we've developed all these practices to map the complex and, let's be honest, often noisy universe inside of us.
This really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. It might sound a little strange to lump all these folks together, right? Physicists and mystics. But when you really think about it, they're on the same fundamental mission. Whether you're a cosmologist charting the faint echo of the Big Bang, or a spiritual teacher guiding someone toward enlightenment, you are, essentially, a cartographer. You're drawing a map of what you perceive to be true.
So, what's the first question any mapmaker has to ask? Well, it's pretty simple. What is this land even made of? What are the basic building blocks of the universe and of us?
The scientific map gives us an answer that is, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Take a neutron star. This is what's left after a huge star dies and collapses under its own gravity. It gets so unbelievably dense that if you took a piece the size of a sugar cube, it would weigh as much as a mountain. This map tells us that reality is made of stuff, heavy, measurable, physical matter.
But then you look at the spiritual map and it charts a totally different kind of substance. It says we're made of something called a human energy field, the HEF, and it's described as structured levels of light that are both around us and through us. Now here's the really crucial part. This map says our physical body doesn't just have an energy field, it actually comes from it. This first level, these blue lines of light, they're like the blueprint for our physical selves. So on this map, the fundamental stuff isn't matter at all, it's structured light and consciousness.
All right, so we have our building blocks. Physical matter on one map, energetic light on the other. But what rules do they follow? I mean, every good map needs a legend, right? Something that explains the laws of the land.
The scientific map, it reveals laws with just staggering precision. Now, don't let this table scare you off. All it's really showing is how physicists get more and more accurate. Newtonian is kind of your basic high school physics answer. But to get it really right, they add all these layers of corrections, 1pn, 2pn, and so on. Each one a tiny, super precise adjustment to perfectly predict how something like gravitational waves will behave. The rules on this map are mathematical, they're discoverable, and they are incredibly detailed.
Now, the spiritual map describes a completely different kind of law. Here, karma isn't just a simple idea of what goes around, comes around. No, it's described as a fundamental force, this call power, that binds our consciousness. The rules on this map say that your actions create this kind of spiritual debt that has to be paid, even on other planes of existence, like the astral plane. It's like a law of spiritual accounting, a moral logic that's woven right into the fabric of reality.
Okay, so nobody charts these huge, complex territories all by themselves. Both traditions have guides to help you navigate the frontier, but the roles they play are profoundly different.
I love this. This is the human side of science. It's a quote from Albert Einstein, and he's basically pleading with his friend, the mathematician Marcel Grossmann, to help him figure out the crazy complex math of general relativity. It just goes to show you that even for a genius, making this map is a collaborative struggle. It can be a desperate, frustrating search to find the right path through this kind of intellectual wilderness.
Now, compare that to the spiritual guide described here, the Mahanta, a title for a living spiritual master. This guide isn't a collaborator in a struggle. They're shown as an infallible escort. According to this map, the Mahanta takes the soul directly to higher spiritual worlds, and they just bypass all the karmic roadblocks. See the difference? It's not a journey of trial and error. It's one of absolute trust and direct personal guidance.
So where does all this leave us? We've got two profoundly different maps of reality. Each one has its own substance, its own laws, and its own special guides. And what's interesting is that both of them, in their own ways, seem to point to a horizon of understanding that's still way off in the distance. The map isn't finished yet.
Let's just take a second to really appreciate how different the language is here. On one side, you have the language of math and structure, exotic R4, space-time curvature, scalar fields. And on the other side, the language is all about experience and metaphor, the tube of light, the divine spark, the ocean of love and mercy. They're both trying to chart the same fundamental territory, existence itself, but the landmarks they point to, the very words on their maps, they're just worlds apart. And this really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Are these physicists and mystics just discovering the features of a single fixed territory that exists out there, completely separate from us? Or is it possible that by using their very different tools, math on one hand and consciousness on the other, they are actively creating the maps themselves? Is reality something we find, or is it something we make? That's a question every mapmaker and every one of us has to face.